Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. Come rain, hail, or thunder, Montana's thunderstorm season is definitely ramping up.
What we witnessed earlier this month in western Montana is now becoming a reality here as rivers breach their banks and communities brace for flooding.
Just today, the city of Laurel declared a state of emergency due to flooding. Heavy rains over the past 24 hours, coupled with the melting snowpack, now resulting in significant rising in the water levels on the Yellowstone.
In addition to today's storm, more than an inch of rain fell here in Billings yesterday and over 3 inches reported in Big Timber. The rising waters now causing rising flood concerns for this portion of the state. Brad
Shoemaker, Yellowstone County Disaster and Emergency Services Director, says local creeks and streams will be running bank full and then some heading into this long weekend.
So the short-term outlook is for more rain over the course of the next 24, 36 hours, and then we're actually looking at a relatively big warm-up for the rest of the week that could lead to more snow melt at higher elevations. The combination of those two is what kind of gives us concern for levels of the river and flooding, because the two of them together could lead to quite a rise in the river. The impacts of that, we would expect some low-lying fields to be inundated with water, and then with the widespread rain, there's not a lot of places for that to drain to. So we would expect that water would stand and possibly back up in some of those low-lying areas.
And Shoemaker says if you witness any flooding, contact your local authorities.
And as always, if you encounter flooded roadways of an uncertain depth, do not attempt to drive across them.
Here locally, Bob, what's the latest on our thunderstorm tango tonight?
Yeah, it's been a wild and woolly night here. Most of the big storms are starting to wind down and starting to go away. Let me show you on the Doppler radar. You can see it here. All of the big stuff that's over there by Broadus, Miles City, and up towards the Glasgow area. Now, we did hear of one storm that had 2-inch size hail. That was like eggs falling out of the sky 17 miles south of Miles City tonight. But those storms are starting to move on. So here's how much rain we had in Billings since midnight. 1.64 inches for Billings. Miles City is over an inch. Places like Livingston, close to an inch of rainfall. So, yeah, we've had a lot of places had some heavy rainfall. Columbus, about 6 miles southeast, had 314, and places like Joliet had over 3 inches. Roundup had over 2 inches. The same thing at Klein. Park City had 199, and did hear one report from Roberts where they had almost 4 inches of rain. But now the good stuff starts coming our way. We'll chat about that coming your way in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob. In other news tonight, Missoula County officials say it could take a couple of weeks to find out whether contaminated water is leaching from an old paper mill into the flood-swollen Clark Fork River west of Missoula. Now, discoloration in pools of water near the old Smurfett Stone Mill could either be natural staining or signs of serious environmental problems. With the risk of heavy metals and dioxins from decades of mill operations being released downriver, the Environmental Protection Agency began collecting water samples today. Those will now be shipped off to a lab for testing.
A rumor at the Lockwood schools today led to a soft lockdown as a security precaution.
After investigation, no threat was found, but school administrators are taking no chances. Q2's David Jay joins us now with more on that. David.
Jeanelle, Jay, the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office determined that there is no safety threat, but deputies plan to have an increased presence this week. Lockwood schools today went into that soft lockdown, which means the school was locked, but students and teachers were able to move inside the building. This came after a series of rumors about a possible threat to Eileen Johnson Middle School. Yellowstone County Sheriff's Captain Bill Michaelis tells us an investigation determined there was no threat. Superintendent Tobin Nevezo told parents attendance is optional tomorrow and Friday, and there's a question about holding the 8th grade promotion ceremony. Nevezo tells us a final decision regarding the 8th grade promotion ceremony has not yet been made, but he plans to reassess the situation tomorrow with the sheriff's office. Jay, Jeanelle?
All right, thank you, David.
Well, there's a good chance your teenager knows this, but may not understand the potential danger. So a warning tonight for adults and parents who may not be versed on their social media options.
It's easier now more than ever for predators to track your every move, or perhaps that of your child. Q2's Victoria Hill sat down with an officer who investigates such cases to learn more.
Meant for fun and communication, Social media is a place to share our life highlights online.
Unfortunately, we as a society, we started sharing more and more information online.
But on the other end, there's bound to be someone with ulterior motives.
It just seems to make it easier for people that are trying to find us or trying to locate us for any purposes.
Apps like Snapchat and its feature Snap Maps have the ability to give a user's exact location.
So this could be used to find kids if people are posting images or videos of their kids or anything along that line. As you can see on the map, it shows kind of a blue area, but you can zoom in closer and you can actually come up with residences, schools, and places where people live. If they post, if they're at coffee and they're having coffee in the morning, any of that type of stuff, you can literally track people's movements, day-to-day movements on these maps.
Predators use a victim's location to make threats. Some predators can be tracked and legal action can be taken, but not for all.
We're, kind of bound by the internet being truly the World Wide Web. So we've had many cases where suspects have come back to where they're not even in the United States, they're in other countries, which makes it that much more difficult for us to try to take any kind of legal action against.
His tip to parents: be involved in your child's social media accounts. Know who they're talking to and make sure they haven't friended strangers.
People kind of forget the stranger danger aspect of being online, so they'll friend people they don't know.
And if you still want to take part in the fun of Snapchat, just disable your geolocation by going into ghost mode in your settings. You can still post, but your friends won't know where you are. In Billings, Victoria Hill, MTN News.
Thanks, Victoria.
Some good advice there. Officer Campbell also reminds parents that Snapchat is for people 13 years of age and older.
Now, he sees a lot of cases where parents actually help their younger children sign up for an account.
For the first time in 44 years, the state of Wyoming will allow grizzly bear hunting. In a unanimous vote today, the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission approving of the hunt of 22 grizzlies this fall in areas east and south of Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks. Now, today's vote comes after Yellowstone grizzlies were removed from the endangered species list just last year. Environmental groups criticized the move, saying the commission ignored more than 185,000 comments opposing the hunt, but the commission says its plan is a conservative approach to regulate the new hunting season. Now, as part of the plan, no hunting will be allowed inside Yellowstone or nearby Grand Teton National Park or the road that connects the two parks.
The National Football League has approved a new policy to tackle the ongoing national anthem controversy. That new policy requires all players to stand for the anthem, but only if they're actually out on the field. CBS's Chris Martinez explains the NFL's compromise.
The 32-member clubs of the National Football League unanimously approved a new policy at their spring meeting in Atlanta to address protests during the national anthem. It states all team and league personnel on the field shall stand and show respect for the flag and the anthem.
We think that we've come up with a balanced process here and a procedure and policy that will allow those players who feel that they can't stand for the anthem to stay in the locker room.
There is no penalty for staying in the locker room.
I can't make none of those rules. Just got to abide by them. It's still a business at the end of the day.
I'm glad they came to an agreement, some form or another. I'll be out there standing.
Former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick kicked off the movement in 2016, quietly taking a knee during the anthem to protest police brutality and social justice issues. But the display quickly turned into a polarizing political issue.
Get that son of a off the field.
The players' union says it was not part of these discussions, and the so-called compromise is only between the league and the owners, not the players.
I think the right question would be, well, what do you do now? And I think about me and I think about what guys on this team are doing. Like, we're already in the community. We're already finding ways to protest police brutality against people of color.
The league says it will fine teams if players continue to protest on the field. Chris Martinez, CBS News.
And the owner of the New York Jets says he will pay any fines and not pass the expense on to his players.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke is on the energy trail. But what kind of path has he paved? We'll take a look back.
And tonight in sports, 3 state softball tournaments open tomorrow. Scott shows us why Shepherd's girls are on track for a trophy.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn. and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.